guys doing? Thanks so much for stopping in. Before we get to today's video, you guys know I'm gonna have to ask. I see you guys watching out there, but you're not subscribed. What is up with that? Don't be a wise guy. Go ahead and tap that subscribe button and the bell notification, huh? Let's do it. Subscribe. In any case, guys, thank you so much for stopping in today. I want to talk about a topic that is very important to me and a lot of people that have a GT350, and that is, why is there no torque? Why does it feel weak on the bottom end? A lot of people complain about that, and not only people who own the cars, other people in the car community that drive Hellcats, Camaros, Corvettes, etc., say that the Voodoo engine and Mustangs in general don't produce a lot of torque down low, specifically the flat plane crank, due to the nature of the design. And so the GT350 kind of spoke to me when I first bought it, and it was like, hey, yo, you give me some of the good stuff when I put my hand up her dress. I make her happy, okay? So I got some E85, and the rest is history. I'll never go back. So I got E85, you guys know that, but I'm gonna go in depth and explain to you guys, this is really how you're gonna get more torque out of the engine, but there's a lot of things you can do to get torque out of an engine, and it's not just displacement. I know there's no replacement for displacement, but you can make up for some of it and a decent amount. This car, specifically the GT350 models, respond to two very important things, and I'm gonna tell you guys how you can do that and get more torque out of your GT350, and trust me, it is worth it. Let's cold start the car, and let's go for a drive. Cracks, boggles, the high revs. Oh my God, that is crazy. If you guys like computers or gaming or tech or anything like that, definitely check out my gaming channel, CTS Gaming on YouTube, and Joseph Corey on Twitch, where all my live streams are. Right now I'm doing a cross vlog and I'm filming two vlogs at the same time. There's definitely less torque in the GT350 than there is in a Hellcat or even a Scat Pack with a 392. When you compare the GT350 to other Mustangs and other muscle cars from Dodge or Chevy, like the Camaro, the Hellcats, the 392s, even the 5.7 RTs, this car's not meant to produce torque like the Hellcats and 392s, even the other Mustangs or Camaros. It just has a lack thereof because it's a flat plane crank. It is the nature of the design, or the nature of the beast, so to speak. But this beast loves to live at 8,000 RPM and produces good numbers up top. Lots of breathing room. These heads love to breathe, and so does the exhaust. The engine overall is very balanced, and I just love it. It is the best and greatest driver's car I have ever been in or owned. If there's any GT350 owners out there and they're like, you know, I want to get some torque in this thing, like I need some bottom end, there's nothing there. It's like a paperweight until I hit 6,000 RPMs. That's pretty much the case. You get nothing until you're around 6,000, or maybe about 45 or 5, you start to feel a little bit of something. Then it really kicks around 55 and 6. But there's a reason for that, and that is ignition timing. You can only push ignition timing so much on 93. You just can't have as much ignition in 93. You'll blow up, you'll detonate, you'll hear that popcorn sound, and it is disgusting. You just can't push 93 like you do E85 or race fuel. 93 octane is not enough to advance the ignition, and advancing the ignition does produce a good amount of torque. However, 93 is really kind of not the best when it comes to doing that. You can't really do much with it. You can tune the GT350 on 93 and get a little bit of a torque increase. You're not really going to feel much. It's more going to be high-end horsepower and unlocking a little bit more on the top end. That's where you're going to get most of your power on 93. And if you don't believe me, you can look at graphs. Most of the 93 tunes are going to give you power above 45 or 5. You're not going to get any real torque down low, and if you do, it's going to be negligible, and you're probably not going to feel it. I know, I own one, I've done it. It's just not really there. Key to torque, and I'm sure you guys have heard it, is there's no replacement for displacement. People say that all the time, and it's the truth. You can't replace displacement, but you can make up for it to a degree with turbos and superchargers and other things like that sometimes, or even more efficient. But that's still displacement. a supercharger and a turbo is technically adding displacement, and I've had heated discussions about that before. Not to sidetrack or anything, but if you got a 4-liter with a 2.5 liter blower, let's say, it's essentially 6.5 liters going up against a naturally aspirated 6.4. You're essentially the same thing. One's just more efficient. I'll let you figure out and guess which one's the more efficient engine every single time. The GT350 does not have the displacement. It's a 5.2 and it's a flat plane crank, which produces less bottom end torque. We have two ways we can make up for that. One is with an intake, and two is with a tune and or fuel supplement. Now, I will tell you guys that putting an intake on this car and not getting a tune is not going to do anything. In fact, the only intakes that are going to work with this car are the crummy ones that are the same size and diameter and airflow pretty much as stock, which is why they don't require a tune. Look at the intakes that require a tune, which is like the one I got, which is the JLT cooled air intake. It is a lot bigger than the stock one and a lot more airflow and requires a tune because you're adding airflow, a significant amount of airflow. The piping, everything's bigger to accommodate much more airflow. The inside of the tube is also smoother, which means more airflow. And the big part of displacement is more air, more fuel, and more spark. Displacement, more power. That's how it works. Now we're adding more air, a lot more airflow. And with an engine that breathes as good as the GT350, that is going to be needed. And with the proper tune, you're actually not getting more displacement, but you're making up for it with more airflow and more fuel. So, I mean, it's really not more displacement per se, but it is, because you're adding more airflow, and in the tune, you're adding more fuel to make up for it and adding ignition. And that pretty much is burning more fuel and more power. Now, the thing is with 93, like I said, you can only push it so far. You can only do so much with 93, so that's only step one. The intake and a tune, it will help you out a lot. The big thing is how to increase the bottom end torque. And that's where the corn comes in. We call it the fucking good juice, the good stuff. You know what I'm saying? It's the good stuff. You want to use it in fucking everything. Everything. You want to put it in your mom's van, you want to put it in your truck, you want to put it in your car, everything you think of, you want to put this stuff in after you use it once or twice. Trust me, after you use it once, you're going to want to put it in everything. All kidding aside, E85 is the way to go with the intake, the added airflow, and the tune, and you're going to be able to squeeze out a lot of ignition timing. There's going to be a lot of ignition timing. In fact, there was like a 10-12 degree difference in ignition or more easily on the red eye. In fact, if I remember correctly, we were like 24 degrees of ignition on the red eye. I think that's where we were at finally versus like, I don't know, 12. I'm not exactly sure of the exact number. There's going to be a lot more advanced ignition, and you're going to pick up a lot of bottom end torque. There's so many people afraid of E85. Don't fear E85. There's a lot of schmucks out there messing it up. I'm not going to mention any names. Come on, boobs. E85 is definitely a lot better than 93. It burns cleaner, it gives you more power, it's higher octane, it's cheaper, it's greener for the environment. Believe me when I tell you, it is better in every single way. It produces less CO2, it produces less carbon monoxide. So it is overall in every way, there is no disadvantage except one, and that's availability. If you have E85 within a 10 or a 15 minute drive of you, I highly suggest running it as much as possible. It is better in every way. Some people say it gets less gas mileage than 93. Well, that may be the case, but it's higher octane, it burns cleaner, and it's cheaper, so it evens out. Believe me when I tell you, it's better, a lot better. And after driving E85 in my two Hellcats and my Jeep SRT, and this GT350, it's been over a year and a half, almost 2 years now of E85, and 93 stinks. It's gross, guys. 93 just downright is putrid. Let's talk about the numbers. That's the big thing you guys want to hear about. I picked up more than 50 pound-feet of torque between 2,000 and 4,500 RPM. So I just wanted to point this out. I want you guys to see it. This is a GT350 tune. The stock run on 93 is 439. The first run on E85 is 468. And then the next one on E85, the final tune, is 487. And then between 2600 and 3400 RPM, there is almost no torque at all. It's completely flat. And even around 3000, as flat as it is, it dips into the negative even more. There is just no torque here at all. In fact, you don't really get any real torque on this car until about 3500. However, you'll see the first run with E85 corrected most of this right here. Looks a lot better, but still lacking some torque over here. You see that they've corrected the 25, 26 all the way to 3000 RPM and kind of given you more torque and flattened it out. There's also a lot less of a dip, and the dip is shorter. Instead of going all the way to 35, it's pretty much over at 32. A lot better of a curve. However, on the final tune, you can see the dip is almost over by 3100 RPM, right where the original tune from the factory is barely starting to pick up. You're already in a nice, flat, kind of rounded curve that's increasing and flattening out between 3500 and 4000. The big key here, like I said, is that the torque down low is what matters the most. And if you guys notice, down here around 2000 RPM, all the way up to about 2500, it's like there's nobody home on the stock tune. The final E85 tune right here is about 300 pound-feet of torque versus 250. E85 is not only moving this curve backwards and down into the lower RPM, it's also flattening it out and removing all the dips. And if you come all the way down here to where there is a very lackluster amount of torque, you can see that it kind of dips up with the E85. Instead of going forward and kind of linear with a little bit of a dip and then up a little bit, it's completely rounded right here. So you guys can see there's not only a lot more torque here, the curve is a lot better. All the way up to 4000 RPM, there's 50 pound-feet of torque difference. About 260 pound-feet of torque right here, whereas E85 right above it in this area is 350. So essentially, with the stock tune, 3400 RPM is 260, 270 pound-feet of torque. And then right above it at 3400 RPM, we have just over 350. So in this area, there's over 100 pound-feet of torque difference in this little area right here. It's pretty much the only thing you can do for torque besides boost. You want to stay naturally aspirated, you want to pick up some of that bottom-end torque. You could do it with VP 110 or MS 109, but there's no point. You're going to be spending $10, $15 a gallon, whereas E85 is $2.40 a gallon, $2.20 in some places at $1.89. So I mean, all you got to do is check your E85, unlike some schmucks out there. As long as it's over 70% on a GT350, you're solid. The car is going to automatically advance ignition timing the higher the E85 goes. It's just the way Palm Beach Dyno has it set up. If you have 90%, you're going to pick up a few extra ponies and some extra torque. You won't be as good with 70% power-wise as you would at 90%, but then you're splitting hairs here. It's still going to be a huge increase over stock either way. Check out my other channel, guys, CTS Games, right there on the bottom of the screen. You guys will love all the gaming, streaming, and computer tech content over there, so check it out, guys. I really appreciate you guys sticking with me through this very strange time with the pandemic and the lack of uploads. But I got a lot of stuff coming. I'm glad to be back. I had so many things going on this year, like so many damn things. It's crazy. So we'll see you guys on the next upload. Take care of yourselves. Be safe out there. We'll see you soon. Peace.